Hey, I'm back. This is Chandler with Melda Production, and today I thought I'd do a little bit of sound design in MSoundfactory. I thought maybe this would be fun. It'll be kind of a short one, but hopefully this will be interesting to you. I thought I'd do some kind of water sound design. I'm going to do water droplet sound and then kind of like some bubble sounds, but they're almost exactly the same. Well, maybe not, but they are almost exactly the same to make. So here we go. I'll let you hear what they sound like. This is the water droplet sound. There you go. That's what it sounds like. Also, this is completely synthesized. I'm not like using a sample or anything. So there you go. That's the water droplet, and here's the bubbles. Yeah. As I said, they're not samples. I'm going to show you how you can make that just using MSoundfactory. No samples needed, etc. Everything's right in here. So let's start with C here. This is just a blank one. I'm going to move this attack down, sustain up for now, but we're going to have to change that later, but let's not worry about that yet. Here we have an oscillator. Bigger for you. What I'm going to do is just set this to a sine wave. So it sounds like this. No big deal. And all we're going to do is just mess with the semitones in here. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to choose an envelope here. So we have this. I'll just put this at a kind of random value now. We can adjust it later. Open up the envelope here. And what I want to do is I want to turn off the sustain. I want to increase the attack around like 70, I think is good. You can kind of play with that for your own project, but I think that's good. And the decay at around 70, around that. Okay, we'll play it. Probably not going to sound too great now, but let's try it. Okay, not good, not sounding anything like a water droplet. So we're going to add a little bit of delay at the front like this. Mess with the depth. And most important part is we need to go back to that global envelope. And what we're going to do is just cut this off, basically. Turn the sustain completely off. The decay is kind of fine. What we're going to do is adjust the hold amount here. So I want it to be maybe a little bit less than half or twice the value of that attack and delay. So both of those were at 70. 140 is maybe a little bit too much. Try like 100 so. That's starting to sound like a bubble or a water droplet, I should say. That delay is a little bit too short, too long. That's sounding pretty good. We adjust the attack like this. Too much. That's good. And we can play it up and down the keyboard. And this actually does follow your sound, so you can play like C major ones. And you can go lower. There you go. And you can even go higher if you want. So there you go. You can do that. If you go too high or too low, it kind of doesn't sound right. Maybe if you adjust the depth. I think even that doesn't help. I would just recommend keeping it in kind of the middle range. All those sound okay to me. So for our droplet sound, I think that's kind of enough. Only thing I'd want to do here is I might want to randomize this a little bit so it's not the same thing every single time if I hit C. The same thing over and over again. If I want to kind of change that up a little bit, there's a few ways we can do it. We can adjust the level or the time. The time seems to cause a few more problems, and they almost do the same thing, so I would recommend adjusting the level. So we'll take it and we'll just add note random here. We're going to do up and down. If that isn't already selected, make sure it's up and down. And then we're going to just increase this. So that way it will go to like maybe 100 and 30%. That's actually a lot. 109% up and maybe to like 91% down. So it's sounding different each time. Now, of course, I can change this here and do more of this. Here, like, it gets too low. It's like, it doesn't really sound good. So I like to keep it a little bit less. Maybe more than that, but less. 116%. So now you're hearing lots of variations with just the same sound. And I could probably do the same with delay. I'm just going to leave it there. It sounds good there. Don't want to mess it up. So if that's sounding good to you, just go to the FX and we can put something on there. I could use a normal reverb, but let's try the Convolution EZ. Has lots of interesting ones. I could use a plate. I don't know why I would do that, but it's possible. I'd suggest this using a small reverb, though. It's going to sound better. A long reverb, I think, may not sound so good. Turn it all the way up. To me, it's a bit too much, but if you turn it down, I think it's all right. But let's try a special one. You see here we have sound design. We actually have a water convolution in here. If I turn it all the way up, I think it's maybe a bit too much. Actually sounds like it has bubbles in it. But if I turn it down a bit, maybe a little bit less than 20. Okay, so I think that's sounding pretty good. Up to you. Of course, you can adjust these things to your own taste, but I think that's sounding like a good water droplet. Now, you might be wondering, okay, how do I change it into bubbles like this? So we're going to take that same sound, and what we're going to do is just add a granular delay to it. So we're going to go in here, reverb and delay, granular, open this up, and there's a few things we can adjust here. I could leave it like this for now. I'll put it 50-50, and then we can adjust it later. So that way the dry is coming through and the wet. So you hear it, it's already adding a delay. You hear that like that. But we're going to add more copies here. Let's try like maybe 8. Now you hear it sounds like it got louder, but you're like, okay, well, it got louder, but I don't really hear 8 delay copies. And that's because your max copy delay is probably too short. I'm going to crank this all the way up. Also, we're going to do pitch random, so they're not all the same pitch. You can set that however you want. Let's try 6 at first. Now let's listen to it. Now to me, that's sounding like water. Some things you might want to do is, if you don't want them all down the center, you can take this pan random and move it to 100%, so that way the copies are left and right. So do that if you want a wider sound. If you think, like, I don't want a wide sound, you can set it at 0%, and you can go into this easy convolution EV, turn the widening to 0, mono. Okay, so that can sound better. Also, you can increase the copies, but if you increase it past a certain point, you're probably like, hey, I don't hear a difference. So, like, I'm not really hearing too much of a difference as opposed to 2. It's like, okay, I can definitely hear the difference. I think 6 is about the sweet spot for this. You can increase the grain count. Sorry, let's try 8. So I'm hearing more there. So if you think like, okay, I want like more like density, that's how you can do it. Let's adjust the pitch random so you can kind of hear what that's doing. So that kind of, I don't know how to really describe it. You get more high-pitched bubbles and low-pitched bubbles. That can sometimes sound more realistic, but I don't know if the realism has to do with the pitch randomness. Having it at 0 is probably not realistic. 2, that could be realistic, and 12 could be realistic, but it just sounds different. So set that however you want. And you might be wondering, like, okay, this seems kind of short. Can I make it longer? At first, I thought the max copy delay would do that, but now I realize that, something else you might want to do is use the grain size. So at 50, it sounds like this. If I move it down, like that. But if I move it up here, especially with the copy delay random at 100%, it's going to sound something like this. I only push that key once. I'll move it down a little bit. So all these copies are being delayed randomly. So I think sometimes this can, make it sound more realistic depending on what you're doing. So maybe if I was going to simulate like somebody's head underwater and they're trying to like come up to the surface, that sounds good. But if just like maybe somebody's hand hitting the water or something, maybe that might sound better. Somebody just blowing air out of their mouth really quick, that sounds better. So think about that and how you adjust it, and also think about how high you're playing. If I play a higher C like this, that sounds different than like 2 octaves down. And so by combining them, you can get like whatever types of variations you want. And of course, you can adjust this convolution amount. I think I want more. Or you think I need like way less, maybe 10%. And of course, you can try any other convolutions in here to come up with kind of interesting and fun sounds. So hopefully you kind of learn something interesting about this, and maybe you can use this in some of your songs. Maybe make some interesting sound effects, or maybe use it for like a video game or a movie. Who knows? So if this helped you and you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. Leave me any questions or comments down below, and be sure to check out all the other plugins at meldaproduction.com. Till next time, see you.